First of all, on the choice of a profession or occupation. How much time are you giving to that? How much thought and time have you given to the question of getting yourself adjusted in an occupation or a business or a profession that can be a labor of love? How much time are you devoting to doing that? Now, you can grade yourself on all of these. The grading can run all the way from 0 up to 100. Of course, you're not giving 100% of your time on this first item. But if you haven't already found the profession or the occupation that can constitute a labor of love, then you should put in a lot of time searching until you do find that. Then the habits of thought. How much do you put in on the can-do sort of thinking, and how much do you put in on the no-can-do? In other words, how much time do you put in on what you desire and on what you don't desire? Have you ever stopped to take inventory to see just about how much goes in on the time on the things that you don't desire in life? Fear, and ill health, frustration, disappointment, discouragement. I'll bet you'd be surprised if you had a stopwatch that you could record the time that you put in every day on worrying about things that might happen to you but never do. You'd be surprised at how much of your time goes. A little here and a little there and a little the other place, and the first thing you know, the predominating part of your portion of your time is going to thinking about things you don't want. Unless you have a system, a budgeting system, whereby you keep your mind definitely fixed on the things you do want. I have 3 hours a day set aside for meditation. Silent prayer and meditation. 3 hours. It doesn't make any difference what hour. Usually when I go home from these lectures, no matter what hour I get home, I'll put in 3 hours of meditation, expressing gratitude for the marvelous opportunity that I've had to be of ministry to other people. And if I don't get it in at night, I get it in sometime during the day. Just expressing gratitude. Do you know the finest prayer on the face of this world is not to pray for something? Pray for what you already have. O divine providence, I ask not for more riches, but more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches I already have. What a wonderful thing that is. Oh, you have so many riches, all of you. You have health, you live in a wonderful country, you have wonderful neighbors. If I couldn't stand here and tell you that I have everything in this world that I want, there'd be something wrong with me and this philosophy, wouldn't there? I'd have no right to teach it to you whatsoever if I couldn't say that myself about it. I can be the master of my fate, the captain of my soul, because I live by philosophy, because it's designed to help other people, because never under any circumstances do I do anything intentionally to hinder or harm or endanger another person. Never do. Business and personal relationships together. How much time do you put into public relations, you might say, or goodwill building in your relationships with other people in business or in your job? You spend some little time cultivating people? If you don't, you're not going to have friends. You really won't. Out of sight, out of mind. I don't care how good the friend is. If you don't keep contact, he'll forget about you. You've got to keep contact. Some of these days I'm going to get up a series of postcards that'll just take 2 cents to mail each one. And we'll have a beautiful motto of friendship on each one so that my students can have those cards and mail out one a week to each of their friends just to keep in contact. There's nothing in the world to hinder a professional man from building up a wonderful client deal by doing that very thing. And he certainly would never violate the ethics of his profession by doing it. There'd be no commercial atmosphere in it at all. He's only sent out one a month. He only sent out 12 cards a year with the right kind of message on the back of it, signed by himself. Believe you me, it would be the best thing in the world to build up his practice. Then the habits of health, physical and mental. How much time are you putting into seeing to it that you are building health habits that give you a health consciousness? Because the health consciousness doesn't just grow without some effort. And your religion, how much time are you putting into living your religion? I'm not talking about believing in it. And I'm not talking about going to church and putting a quarter in the basket now and then. Anybody can do that. How much are you living it in your bedroom, and in your drawing room, and in your kitchen, and in your place of business, and in your office? There's where I want to know how much you're living your religion. And when you grade yourself on that, that's the place to grade yourself. Not in the church. Because the chances are you go to church once a week, maybe more. If you're along some religions, you have to go more. But it's not how many times you go either that counts. It's not how much you contribute to the church in the way of money that counts. It's what you do to live that religion. That's the thing that counts in the everyday way of living. Why, you know, any of the religions would be wonderful if you'd only live by them instead of just believe in them. They'd all be wonderful. I don't know of a religion on the face of this earth that wouldn't be wonderful if people lived by it. Now, it may seem trite, my asking you to grade yourselves on how much time you're spending in on living your religion, but believe you me, unless you're very different from most people that I know, you need to reflect on this subject. And then the use made of your spare time. There is why you really need to go to town and examine yourself. Really give yourself an accounting on that one. Just how much of that 8 hours of spare time are you devoting to some sort of advancement of your interests, improvement of your mind, benefiting by association? Just how much are you doing? And then the budgeting your spending of money. Have you got a system for doing that? If you haven't got a system, work out one. You can make that system flexible. It may be some weeks when you have to cheat a little bit. But you can always pay it back the next week when you don't have to cheat. Then on accurate thinking, based on the lesson on this episode, how much time are you putting into actually learning how to think accurately, following the rules that I laid down in that lesson? How much are you doing to put that lesson into actual practice? Thinking accurately, doing your own thinking for once. Then the use made of the power of thought, whether controlled or uncontrolled. Are you controlling your thoughts, or are your thoughts uncontrolled? Are you letting the circumstances of life control you, or are you trying to create some circumstances that you can control? Now, you can't control all of them. Nobody can do that. But you certainly can create some circumstances that you can control. And how about this privilege of voting? Yes or no? Do you say, oh, well, I guess I'll not go to the polls today. The crooks are going to run the country anyway, the politicians, and my little vote's not going to count. Or do you say that, or do you say, I have a responsibility, and I'm going to go to the polls and vote because it's my duty to do that? Put a little time in on that, do you? There are a lot of people that don't, you know, and that's why there's so many crooked politicians and others in public office that shouldn't be there. There's too many of the decent people that don't vote. Then family relationships, are they harmonious? Do you have a mastermind relationship, or are you just letting that one slide by? How much time are you giving to improving your family relationship? You have to do something about it, you know. Somebody has to give in. If the wife won't give in and start, why don't you give in, gentlemen? And vice versa. If the husband doesn't give in, start a little masterminding, why don't you give in? Why don't you make it interesting for him? You made it interesting for him before you married him. I'm sure you did, or he wouldn't have married you. Why don't you try it all over again and renegotiate your marriage relationship so that you have a wonderful relationship there? Believe you me, it'll pay off. It'll pay off in peace of mind. It'll pay off in dollars and cents. It'll pay off in friendships. It'll pay off in every way that you want to judge it. Then you and your job or your business or your profession, are you going the extra mile, and do you like your work? If you don't like your work, find out why. If you're going the extra mile, how much are you going the extra mile? In what ways are you doing it? And are you doing it in the right sort of mental attitude? And believe you me, I don't care who you are nor what you're doing. If you make it your business to go the extra mile in connection with every person where you can possibly do it, the time will come and you will have so many wonderful friends that whatever it is you want to carry out through them, they'll be there at your beck and call.